Yes, Sir Hairless here. I put out a poll recently for our YouTube and Patreon members, simply asking for some Christmas song suggestions. Everyone got to submit 2 songs, could have been absolutely anything they wanted, and this is our winner, Geoff Castellucci, and his cover of Carol of the Bells. Carol of the Bells needs no introduction. If you don't know it, then I will plug the 2 Carol of the Bells videos that I've done reactions to. Pentatonix's version, I gave that the highest rating of anything ever to date. I thought it was absolutely incredible. And Peter Hollins's version also incredible. But today it's about Geoff Castellucci and his version. Very excited. Carol of the Bells, it's a fantastic carol. I think everyone loves it. And it's quite interesting because, I think anyway, it's quite dark in many senses. It's just how the music is. So, as always with Geoff and his creativity, I guess we'll see how he chooses or decides to take on this much loved carol. Lovely dissonance caused from the falling. Okay, our introduction, that's nearly a minute already, wow. I guess the introduction with the crackling fireplace setting the scene, definitely worth having for sure. And it seems like now the lyrics, hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, that we all know is a changed style. We had, well, excuse that voice crack, some very kind of tribalistic drums, almost quite warlike in a way, so it seems that Geoff really is embracing the darkness of the carol in some respects. I like how when the music came in and I mentioned that we get this falling idea. And as this falling idea happens, this very disjointed, scattered violin, very shaky. It doesn't really give us much conviction, does it? Things seem very sad, really quite dark and sad, I think, are kind of interchangeable. Obviously really enhanced by Geoff's humming in harmony, very, very low down, complete other end of the spectrum to the violin in terms of range anyway. So with the violin and the falling and the chords changing, there's just these lovely dissonances. Like a suspension there. So we basically get that falling motif, which finishes here on this chord, but there's this suspension. And at the same time, the violin is playing, so we're kind of hearing this, which is unresolved. There's tension in the music immediately, even though it's quite kind of sparse overall. And then we get the drums, Geoff, do, and then sinking down further deep. And this piano idea as well that we can hear repeated over and over. So we really do have a contrast of everything, and it's almost like film music at this point. We have the long sustained vocal parts, the long sustained instrumental parts, the very scattered instrumental parts, the quick, rapid, like the piano, ta-ta-ta-ta-dum, tribalistic drums, really is setting the scene. It's not the introduction I was expecting. Now let's carry on from where he comes in with the words, hark how the bells.
Hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say throw cares away. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing a cheer to young and old, meek and the bold. Ding dong, that is their song with joyful ring. Oh, caroling, one seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they pound, raising the sound, o'er hill and dale, telling their tale. Gaily they ring, while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here. Merry, merry, merry Christmas. Merry, 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 merry Christmas. Merry, 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 merry Christmas.
I like that rhythmic augmentation, so where the lengths of the notes of the melody are increased to usually double. On Hark How the Bells, we didn't get that the first time round. Instead, he increased the time in between the two lines.
Hark how the bells, sweet silver bells.
Instead of Hark How the Bells, Sweet Silver Bells. No, Hark How the Bells, then a gap. Sweet Silver Bells.
That is their song with joyful ring. Oh, caroling, one seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air.
I like the gradual build-up, of course. Like if you imagine a chord on a piano just slowly moving up and up and up. There's always a tightness to the sound of the singing with Geoff's videos, I feel. And I say it in every video, and I will continue to say it in every video because I just want to stress how important it is. I think so anyway. When you sing with yourself, it's just a sound, a choir-like sound, a chorus-like sound that you cannot get when you sing with somebody else. Your voice is the same as your voice. So when your voice is multiplied, it will always just sound well. The blend is just there naturally.
While they pound, raising the sound, o'er hill and dale, telling their tale, gaily they ring, while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is very, 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 very Christmas.
In an arrangement like this, where it is kind of not all over the shop, because all over the shop sounds disorganized, this is very much organized, but I think we can agree that the parts are kind of jumping around. Let's just listen to those last few seconds again.
Songs of good cheer. Christmas is very, 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 very.
Down there, and now, oh my god, the voice cracks are on point today. I'm so sorry. So he goes down there,
Dum dum bum bum.
and then to the top in his chest voice,
Very, very, very Christmas.
which is not super high for Geoff. We know he has a crazy range. I've heard him sing in his chest voice almost an octave higher than that. But I think this is a really good song to display these contrasts really quickly, just because of how rapid the melody is. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. These ideas moving up, and then the syncing ideas, which we get on the ding-dongs. Ding-dong, ding-dong. And that's one of the first things I noticed with this arrangement. He's taken that falling four-note pattern and is really honing in on it. I think it works really well.
Merry, merry, merry. Merry, merry, merry. Merry, merry, merry. Merry Christmas.
And that's another great example of moving up and down between the parts, between the different Geoffs. And then, of course, we have these super, super lows. We know Geoff can go crazy low. That's one of the main reasons he's so well known. So I'm not going to point out when he goes low. I think this is an arrangement where he does it. Our faces kind of just go, oh, the bass face, as I call it. Very fitting for a low bass singer. I will point that out because I kind of forgot how low he went. If you're curious, this D is one note below a bottom E, typically the lowest note your choral bass might be expected to sing. So from the D, no longer on the keyboard, and he actually goes down a whole octave from there. Just absurdly low, really. If you're going to whip out these super, super low notes, I think you cannot just chuck them in I mean, you can. It will still be impressive. But when they're contextually fitting, when you prepare them really well, you move down to them naturally, like this. I like how he's moving down to the lows as well, not as we might expect, which is that four-note falling pattern that we got right from the start. No, he's changing up the order a little bit. And in between, then all the other Geoffs come in on a ah, and then Geoff again, and then the other Geoffs ah, and then again ah. I don't know why I'm doing ah like that. Anyway, so on top of this, a very full sound, quite a kind of damning sound, you know, very dark. On top, we also have the violins again. Now it's not that kind of scattered, weak sound from before. No, it's a convicted sound.
Merry Christmas.
That motif. Hark How the Bells. Cut off, and then we hear it again, but slightly adjusted to fit in with the changing harmony. The overall shape, up, and then back down, lower, is the same, and it's the same rhythmic structure as well, because you might be thinking, so Hairless, it's not the same musical motif or idea, it's different notes. Well, in music, sometimes you have to adjust motifs. Motifs give us familiarity. Oh, I've heard that before, I recognize it. But you have to change it to fit in with the harmony so you don't get disgusting clashes and very unnatural sounding dissonances that don't really work. That idea of reusing melodic ideas and changing them is really what forms the basis of fugues, fugal writing, if we go back to like Bach. I digress. Just before we paused,
Ding dong, ding
lovely little a cappella section, we get that falling idea again. But instead of going to the bottom, he goes that interval, tritone, diabolus in musica, the devil in music, very interesting sounding. And then the chord above it, a nice 7th chord. He actually has the root note D because it's a D chord on the top. Again, just something slightly unexpected. Let's carry on and see what he does for the rest of it. If you enjoy these videos or find them helpful, please consider supporting me. Patreon has a bunch of exclusive benefits, behind the scenes videos, additional reaction content, Q&A videos, and more. For a one-time donation, you can donate me a hot chocolate at the Buy Me a Coffee link, or become a YouTube member for these groovy emojis and membership badges. And a huge thank you to these lovely people on the screen now.
Hark how the bells, sweet silver bells, all seem to say, throw cares away.
Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, big and the
Bowl. He has such a way of pronouncing the consonants on these drops down. The bit that we just heard, I will carry on in a second. I really like how subtle the choral harmony is in the background. Again, we do get some dissonances in there, clashy, scrunchy chords if I were to play them on the keyboard, but because it's his voice mixed with his voice, the blend is really good, and overall just very subtle. It doesn't really detract from the main part, if you will, on the top. Like we can hear just consistently in the background, completely disregarding any chord changes. It just stays on that note.
Sing songs of good cheer. Merry, 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 merry Christmas. Merry, 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 merry Christmas. Merry, 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 merry Christmas.
What a nice way to end. And the percussion that you can hear in the background, the final hit of the drum, it is resonating out slowly, and it does have a pitch to it, a constantly changing pitch that is, of course, not in the same key that the bell is in. So it's just another way of giving it a kind of final type of ending. The fact that in the almost like second layer of importance, of obviousness, we are still getting harmony, differences or interesting things, clashes. Well, I think the only kind of preconception that I got right about this was that this would not be what we might expect it to be. Let's just go over a few final things from that last section. The obvious thing in terms of the harmony. Raising the sound, again, lovely lyric painting. Raising the sound, typically, I believe, refers to volume. So it's really nice take here talking about actually the pitches, raising them up a little bit, completely not what you'd expect.
Gaily they ring while people sing songs of good cheer. Merry, merry, merry.
Really like that as well. Maybe it's because of the versions I'm used to of Carol of the Bells, but I think the traditional carol as well, typically on the gaily they ring, well, gaily is high, up, and then it comes down. It's very strange hearing it so low down, but it kind of works.
Gaily they ring while people sing songs of good cheer. Merry, merry, merry.
and on Christmas is rhythmic manipulation, harmonic manipulation. When I say manipulation, I'm just kind of summarizing the fact that things have changed and just, again, not what we might expect based on what we've previously heard.
Christmas is here, ringing.
This is a case from earlier, the same thing, rhythmic manipulation, rhythmic augmentation, the term that I used earlier where you elongate the notes of the melody. Because of that, the harmony too is affected. You can't keep changing the chords like you would if the melody was chum ba ba bum bum ba ba dum. Things are slower, it forces us to listen, it gets our attention. I certainly at this point was a bit like, what's going to happen? And in turn, I think I naturally focus a bit more on the more energetic part at this moment, which takes us back to the very tribalistic, warlike drums, percussion that we get. And then the subtle piano coming in very, very quietly and softly and quicker than Geoff, slower than the drums, but much more legato, very, very smooth. So now I feel we have a big contrast of sounds again. And for me, that was a big theme in this one. Contrast of sounds in a carol that is so well recognized by the world and everyone knows it and therefore what to expect from it. As usual with his arrangements, it seems to be a trend here that I think he does a really, really great job of maintaining the original spirit and sentiment of the song he's covering, whilst changing it significantly, adding in all these little quirks and nuances, putting a Geoff Castellucci stamp on it, and being able to get that mix of familiarity with new things without kind of disrupting the legacy of the original song, if you will. Yeah, takes a special kind of skill. And I think I'll finish with one of my favorite moments.
Merry, 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 merry Christmas.
As usual, great set as well and effects with the camera shaking. Well, there we go. The third Carol of the Bells on the Sir Hairless channel. Thank you to everyone who voted in the poll. I know I have received many requests for this one, especially last year. I unfortunately did not have time to get around to it then, but we got there eventually, so hopefully the wait was worth it. Thank you very much if you made it this far. Would really appreciate a comment. Helps out the algorithm. Give me future suggestions. If you don't want to write any words, we'll go for an emoji. Of course, today's emoji will be bells, just like you see on the screen now. Very, very fitting. Thank you once more, and I'll see you in the next one.